challenge. We had to learn to appreciate each other no matter what, through sickness and in health, no matter what, even if it was a struggle. We realized Jesus was doing something. He was setting this all up because he was using it as the lung process. And what's amazing is I had no idea this was even written in the books, and apparently there was a prophecy in the books about fire being breathed through the lungs and God's breath passing through. So it's been a big journey for G and I, and G struggled trying to breathe the last 6 months and gradually getting worse. So Jesus set all this up because he was waiting on G and I to be truly one, not only in the spirit, but also in the flesh, and to come as one in the group to truly cleanse ourselves so he can combine our lungs together supernaturally. That way I can feel Jesus rocking me right now. That way he can bring him the new lungs he needs. You're rocking the wrong way because he's rocking me a certain way. And we can become one as soulmates, and he's also shaking my knee right now. And we can become one as soulmates, and the group can be truly connected. And apparently all of this is written in the books, and it stems from in the garden when he had to do the transformation process. He's making me feel like a mental patient, where they're just like this, rocking like back and forth. They look crazy. But I can feel his energy from heaven. After they pulled the rib out of Adam to give to Eve, but what they didn't tell you is they were taking out his ribs. They were putting darkness in Adam, which is also why darkness is attached to our souls, which is why Jesus is trying to cleanse it from us. So the Archons put Adam in a deep sleep. So while all of this was happening through the rib transformation process, and that also has to do with God's breath being transformed inside Adam, because they tricked the false father and the light that he had inside him since he was made from the truest life form. Because science needs an opposite, and Yaldabaoth lost his light and some of the power from being created the light circle. He now put that light inside Adam, and he lost his power. So they were after Adam and Eve, always trying to steal Eve's light. Since God put the light in Eve from the very beginning, and even though they mocked Adam and Eve, the true creation of them, oh, there's a dog behind me. I was like, what's that? Eve still had her resonating light because the fallen Archons, who had access to God's DNA duplicate lines of his creations, they stole God's true DNA creations and mocked his creations, recreating his Adam and Eve. This is part of the reason why the God of this world, he's so angry and he's going after God's people to destroy them, because he was tricked of giving up his power. And all of this is spiritual because we were made from the spirit from the very beginning, and no one remembers this because we had our memories taken away. We've already completed the spiritual battle. Now we're on the physical. Now the worlds are colliding together into one, because we are now getting battle ready for physical battle. Now that the spiritual battle is over, God has to bring the spiritual and the physical world together. And this is what the pole shift is all about, which is why crazy weather patterns are in different places. This is also what's going to make the earth shift and sever the maps in a lot of places because of catastrophic earthquakes that are coming. But God is not going to let that happen until he wakes up his people, which is why he's using Hezekiah to turn the dial back. So when physical collides with spiritual, you will able to see in the spiritual realm, so you will know the veil has now been removed. So in the beginning, we weren't fighting against flesh and principalities of darkness because we were only in the spiritual. You see how he brings it back? But now in the physical, we're not only fighting against flesh, we're also fighting against the principalities of darkness. Once the physical and the spiritual come together, the battle will start.
You want me to go next?
I think he's messing with my speeds. Jesus, don't do that. He is messing with my speeds right now.
I knew you would do that eventually. It'll embarrass you. That's funny.
It's embarrassing me.
Go keep reading, honey.
So do you...
He knows he had to wake me up. That's a one way to wake me up.
Now he won't let me get it out. Supernaturally makes me stutter. So Jesus did not allow deception to come in the group at all. Jesus. But he did allow people to speak through their own hearts and their own flesh. Because we wrestle against our own flesh now.
Come again?
We are no longer spiritual realm.
Come again, honey? You need to pronounce your words like you told me.
So Jesus did not allow deception to come in the group at all. Well, he's literally doing this to me right now. But he did allow people to speak from their own hearts and their own flesh. and I can't control it. Like you won't let me move my lips to be able to spread it out. It's very supernatural. Because we wrestle against our own flesh now that we're no longer in the spiritual world. But I've always been very transparent about everything.
Go ahead.
Maybe he wants you to read. That was not funny, Jesus.
Where'd you end up at?
You might as well just start from there.
So Jesus did not allow deception to come in the group at all, but he did allow people to speak from their own hearts and their own flesh, because we wrestle against our own flesh now that we are no longer in the spiritual world. But I've always been very transparent about everything that is going on in the group, and so has the 12. And now I even understand the whole aligning the planets thing, because from the very beginning, the creation from the light circle, the stardust explosion is what made everything from the stardust particles, and the stardust equation starts it all. And because we were from the original kingdom,
I'm just laughing. Do you see how
and the
Jesus
ones
is?
reading these updates.
He's such a beautiful father. You see how he plays with me like that?
Yeah.
He literally plays with me, guys. That is supernatural. I'm telling you. He does things that I cannot control when he's doing it in the spirit. Same thing with arm wrestling the other day.
Yeah.
He, let's see if he'll do it.
Okay. Yeah,
Show you
so
guys something. Jesus, you gotta help us out, okay?
I'm pretty good at
Do
arm
it
wrestling. I'm pretty strong.
So we're gonna do it normal without Jesus, okay? Jesus, so don't help me, okay?
So this is not helping, okay?
Okay.
Ready? Look at it.
Ow, that hurts.
Sorry, Eddie.
Okay, Jesus, please help me, okay? Oh, I was like break my
Did you
arm.
give your best on that one?
I did.
Okay.
Okay.
Over the top.
Don't embarrass me, Jesus. You gotta help me now. Okay, ready?
Jesus, what do I go, 100% or what?
You say go 100%.
Oh, damn.
Ready?
Okay, Lord. Damn!
That's still crazy. Do it again.
That's crazy.
Hang on, let's increase it again.
Okay, alright. Over the top, guys. You know how this movie goes.
Do it really strong, Jesus.
I'm really good at arm wrestling. Guys, you don't understand. I've won every arm wrestling contest I've been in. And that's insane.
That is Jesus all the way, guys. I'm telling you.
That is insane.
He just said, do it again, my son. Hold on, let's hear
Holy
it.
shit. Jesus, I've never lost, Lord. I'm going to be very embarrassed if my wife beats me at arm wrestling.
Come on, Jesus, let me beat him.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, hold on.
Okay, ready?
Watch him like trick me and just go fight.
You break your arm. Okay, I'll start slow first.
Okay, hold on. Let me just pray in the spirit. De coronazo que te shabariente.
A little nervous, guys.
Okay, ready? That's still really good though.
Oh,
Wow.
in the spirit. Oh my gosh, you brought me in the spirit coughing.
Wow.
That's how he got me. Oh my gosh.
Those are just some fun things that we do with Jesus.
That's your father playing with his children right there.
Yeah. Okay.
That was fun, Lord. Thank you. That
fun.
was.
That woke you up, didn't it?
Whew, that woke me up.
Oh, my arm.
Is your arm okay? Lord, is your arm going to be okay?
It hurts, but it's okay. When God does it, like, it doesn't hurt as bad.
Wow.
The first time. Okay. Do you remember that?
Top. Right there.
Are from the original king,
Yeah.
because he designed it that way, and in the end we're going to start to realize who we used to be, but we just don't remember. Amazing as God is, he's going to transform his people's hearts by using Hezekiah in the Bible. Not Hezekiah personally, but his story, because he used the dial turning back to save Hezekiah, which is why God is going to use the Hezekiah story to save his people. Because Hezekiah had a sickness, and now the people who don't truly know Jesus that have a sickness, and they under the law, which means they are under the curse. That curse that was brought on the world by the false father. You're going to see the entire Bible is written with the false father and the true father going back and forth. But there are some things that he used as a double inheritance spirit to make certain things happen. Guys, literally read the very beginning of this message and then go towards the end. He literally says the same thing, showing beginning and end, but in different ways. It's so cool. But there are some things that he uses double inheritance spirit to make certain things happen, but it was all for God's glory, and he will save his children and destroy evil in the end. I heard, are you all right, my son?
No, I'm good. I'm okay.
You have
Everything's
to know
fine,
this
Lord.
has
Everything's
always
fine.
been God's design. He allowed every single thing, which is why from the very beginning, God, the true Father, set up bylaws, and he even had guidelines before he allowed the false father to deliver a curse on his people through all the laws, and you can find these guidelines in the book of remembrance in our ancient grandmothers. All of that is showing God's true character of how he loves his children, and he, even though sometimes we have to go through suffering and trials through faith, and sometimes we get sick through things. Are we going to curse God? Are we going to continue to curse God? Are we going to continue to pick up our cross and thank him? And that's what the story of Job is all about. Job didn't curse God to his face, even though the people around him was telling him to. He knew that God was true and that God was going to reform him and save him. So that's what Jesus is teaching us. He's taking us certain things away in our lives and making us choose him over everything. And that was the Abraham test he gave to McKenna. He wanted her to leave her current situation because he was warning her that if she didn't, the demonic presence was going to get stronger, and that could even lead her into unnecessary trauma or even physically harm her. But McKenna did not believe God would tell her and test her to do something like that, so this is the straw that broke the camel's back. And now she started to stray and listen to man, Jesus talk, knowledge of God, because she felt like God wouldn't test her this way. Therefore, it had to be Satan. She thought we were giving her an ultimatum, and now she's saying that we were always the ones that were always right and nobody else was, and that's why we are a cult. But McKenna knows deep down inside that she messed up. She just can't see it right now, but she will see it because God is going to bring her back, which he did, sort of. Not all the way yet. And she will be third to come back on the internet and start preaching his word again with the group. This is an example of people walking with God and then falling away, and God is using all of this. So not only did he use the whole lung process and the falling away process to cleanse us, but we're truly as a group praying together, worshiping and asking Jesus to cleanse us. G struggled a lot. He's going through so much, and he's had 3 processes now with the lungs.
Now 4.
Now he's going backwards, so he's on his 4th. Well, I think that was your 5th, actually. Yeah, it was his 5th.
So 6th.
So the 6th is the last one. I think that's when he turns you into a dog.
Can't wait.
I know, people think we're crazy listening to this, but
I was just a contractor a little bit ago.
I had the dream of it, I'm telling you, and Jesus prophesied it before. He's going through so much, and he's had 3 processes now with the lungs where he had to go to the ER 3 times. Well, there's a beautiful story behind this and a mission that God sent us on the other day, trying to show the doctor that God is science. And if you take out God and science, you're not going to figure out the problem. So God prophesied to me that if we were to take him to the hospital, and they're not going to be able to find anything because these are supernatural symptoms. And that is what has been happening. He had to stay overnight in the hospital, and God told me he would be leaving that day. And that is because God knew the plan from the very beginning, and I didn't know what he was planning on doing. So the doctors, they ran all kinds of tests, CT scans, chest x-rays, and they couldn't understand why he had so much wheezing in his chest and barely breathing, but his oxygen was 97%. Medically, it did not make sense to the doctors, so God had me call the doctor in and talk to him and tell him they're not going to find anything. And G started that conversation with the doctor because God is putting us with our soulmates on these missions so we can learn from one another and grow with each other. And God sent us on this mission with the 12 on Zoom so we can also grow as a group together, to let the doctor know that these are supernatural symptoms and God's going to heal G because you won't find anything. And now for a while he did heal him pretty much. And now he just started bringing it back for the next round.
Yeah.
So not only did we plant that seed with the doctor, and the whole hospital talked about us, how we left the hospital against medical advice because we knew based on our faith. We knew Jesus was behind everything, and not only did all these seeds get planted in that hospital, we believe in our heart that journey with that hospital is not finished yet, because we were the talk of the entire hospital about how we were speaking about Jesus and how he was going to supernaturally heal him. So again, the Lord tested my faith when we got back from the hospital. I didn't understand why he wasn't immediately healed yet. So I cried and cried out to the Lord because I didn't understand. But now God is showing me the lung process, and it's really beautiful. And then I found out from Charlene, one of the 12, that all of this was written in the books. You cannot make this stuff up, and this stuff happens in the group all the time. And McKenna has seen this so many times. So it's really sad that she's missing all of this now out of fear. But part of McKenna's problem is she doesn't realize she has some trauma of center, attention, and vanity. And she wanted to feel important because she doesn't feel worthy herself, which is why she wanted to put out these amazing revelations first. But God has a plan. He didn't want her to put out these revelations first because he needed it to be done in the order of creation, but also in the order of the 12. When the group came together, he needed it to be done supernaturally. Like, you wouldn't be listening if you didn't see my hair changing in the middle of the video.
It's changing continuously throughout the whole video.
So these mysteries weren't ready to be put out there yet. God's timing is perfect and pleasing, and she wanted to follow her own will. So he allowed her to do it. And now he is using her to pave the way and not only symbolize the non-wise, but also symbolize this is what happens when you follow your own will and not God's will. You can't sort of follow God's will. You have to all the way follow God's will. And God was never going to make McKenna move in here, but he was going to see if she'd be willing to listen to him and give up her son if she had to. Whatever he asked of her, would she do it? Do you know how many challenges and things God has told me I had to do by my own free will? And I did it because I love him. Do you think I wanted to go on the internet in a bikini or in a towel? I didn't want to do any of those things, but I had to because my Lord asked me to. And I love my Lord, and I will do anything for him. So God sets us up sometimes, and he asks his prophets to do uncomfortable things, just like he asked Isaiah to walk around naked for 3.5 years, because he knows the purpose, whether he's behind it or it's the false father. God, he allows it for his purpose and his glory, because he foreshadows things and he uses things for symbolism and his glory to wake up his children. You see, all these missions and every single thing that you're seeing is all about waking up God's children to the true gospel and the good news. And the more and more we talk about once saved, always saved, it's going to make more people come against us. So we continue to take the hate and deal with all the drama and every single thing that comes with it to follow God's will, because we love Jesus. We know what's coming because Jesus warns us and he let us know. We know how it's going to end. We know that we're all going to come back together, and we know that you're going to see proof of duplicated spirits and primary suits, things that he has used his people for in this world. You're also going to see glorious bodies. Not only that, God's going to show you all the blessings he has for his people through us and the people who are ready to be called up. He's going to show and prove this through teleportation and the supernatural. He's already showed me in the 12 the supernatural many times over. And he's also proved teleportation in me and Sheila, one of the 12, and her dog too. And we were blown away. And I know a lot of people who aren't walking in the Spirit do not believe. But they're all about to see it. But he's giving people a chance to believe without seeing it. And this is why you guys continue to have the updates, because you guys are believing. Because you feel it in your spirit. It's all about being led, spirit-led, but it's easy to fall and walk in the flesh. And when you walk in the flesh, Jesus is teaching us it is possible to be deceived. This is why he says in my word, my elect will be deceived if it were possible. Again, he just brought that one back. The bottom line is our entire lives, Jesus has been teaching us, and he has been with all of us. We just don't have those memories back. So just watch all the hate build up on the internet, because that's what's going to happen. Just like Jesus prophesied it all in 8/14/2023. It was called Faith versus Man's Laws. So now back to the whole lungs process that Jesus has been using. I will go over exactly how it all happened here, so you can see exactly how this poor man was suffering for Jesus as well. Wow. So G's lungs, what are we on now? That's 56, but that was, 55, but that was another video before that.
We're at 30.
Yeah, so we already did. We're about 3 hours.
We're doing circles, what we did last
Wow,
time.
so G's lungs have been killing him, and the first time the process was he got a cold, and the medicine didn't work very well. So he had the flu. Now, keep in mind, he has COPD and also asthma, and his medicine has always worked, even if he got a cold or the flu. So this was all being designed as supernatural by Jesus for the whole lung transformation process. The second time was even more brutal, because Jesus was increasing it, because he needed that for the symbolism, since Jesus got stabbed in the side when he was on the cross. Jesus said what happened with his lungs, and now he's doing symbolism using G, who is bringing us both back as prophets, as Adam and Eve, and soulmate partners. Jesus' lungs was literally filling up with water and permeating, so G stopped taking his medicine for Jesus' will and symbolism, because supernaturally his medicine was no longer working. And he obeyed by his own free will, since he has the faith of Abraham because of Adam. Abraham was Adam because of the duplication of the spirits. God foreshadowed that, showing the beginning and showing the end, because of all the blessings he has for his people, and also how he was going to populate the New Jerusalem. So he didn't take his inhaler or do any breathing treatments, and G's lungs, they got to the point where it was so bad that his cartilage cracked in his rib from coughing, because he also had the real flu. And keep in mind, even when he used it, it didn't work. And he'll tell you that himself. I didn't force him to not take his medicine.
Oh no, this is off my free will.
And he hears from Jesus.
Yeah, no.
He's not stupid, guys. Like
Well, I'll be stupid for Jesus anything.
But I'm just saying, but you're not stupid. You don't follow my orders. Like,
I don't follow anybody but Jesus. And this woman thinks I love her.
I love you too.
No.
And
I've never had a boss. You know, I'm like the worst. Okay, don't get me on a tangent. Guys, I don't do things blindly. I've always been self-employed, always been my own boss. My boss is Jesus every day. So I will do everything he asks me to do with free will.
And Jesus said when we are about to change into our glorious bodies, we're going to get flu-like symptoms because changing in the bodies creates sickness in the bodies. But this won't be the actual flu this time, but he set it up as a foreshadow for the beginning and the end, and gave him the actual flu, while he was making him suffer through the long process. And also G got so bad because of the real flu on top of it, and his medicine was no longer working. He started coughing to try and get air, and that's when G died, and then Jesus brought him back to life. He was gone for 6 seconds in my time. So it was between 6 and 8 because, like I said, I didn't count, but by the time I sat up, I heard him cough, and then I heard nothing, and then I sat up, and then I turned, and I was like, baby, baby, and he just looked like this. Like, wouldn't move, wasn't breathing, and his lips were blue. And so I shook him, so in between that time was between 6 and 8 seconds. I didn't know his lungs were going to get that bad, but it was all God's doing because he was putting him in the spiritual world. And he even gave a dream about it, walking in heaven with Jesus beforehand, warning him what was coming. Jesus also said to me 20 minutes before, don't tell your wife you're going to die, in a joking manner. He said, you're going to scare her. Oh. Excuse me. And I had no idea that was going to happen. I thought...
That's it.
Sorry. I thought Jesus was joking. So yes, I did get freaked out, but I shook G and he came right up, but his lips were blue. God was allowing all of this through me because he knew I had trauma with my sister, because she died from a seizure and had a heart attack, and I thought G was having a seizure, but it was God supernaturally putting him in the spiritual world. But see, God did it perfectly, guys, because when he was in the hospital and he had the seizure, and in the bedroom, he had foam coming out of his mouth. So not only was his lips blue, he had like bubbles. Like, it freaked me out. I thought, oh, this freaked me out. But God let me know later as I was writing this that he took him for 23 minutes. But he stopped the clock. That's why his lips turned blue. Now, I had no idea how long it takes for lips to turn blue when you die. But G looked it up and it says anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes. Your lips will turn blue, but God supernaturally stopped the clock because he's about to stop the clock for his people. Mm-hmm. It was so supernatural, and I had no idea this was coming. I had no idea he was gone for that long. Because where I was, it was only 6 seconds. But the spiritual world and heaven time doesn't match our time because God's hand is on the clock. So Jesus didn't tell me any of this because he knew that would have freaked me out because I'm in this fleshly body. And as soon as you start letting your mind lead you to the flesh, that is when you truly lose all spiritual understanding. But God foreshadows everything. And this is how he's going to use Lazarus by stopping the clock. This is also how he's going to wake his people up by showing them the supernatural, because he prophesied it in 2023 about waking the dead.
Next.
Next subject. Now he's back to the very beginning.
Next subject. Well, the Holy Spirit is a he and not a she. Because God the Father and the Son was created in the first light circle, and he is the head of the Godhead family, not the mother who is wisdom. But this is why we don't worship the mother of Mary. So the one saying that the Holy Spirit is a she only has half the battle and half the equation. Because the daughter of the king did sacrifice herself in the original spiritual battle that we've already completed before Jesus Christ had to come in the flesh. So the demons know her as the Holy Spirit or the mother, but that is only pertaining to the spiritual world, because the spiritual world started the light circle and the creations. However, if you leave out the Father and the Son, you leave out the Father and the Son from the beginning of the light circle. And in order to have salvation in the flesh, because you have to die to the flesh and walk in the Spirit. You have to claim that God the Father sent his only begotten Son to save us all from all sin. He took the penalty of sin, and therefore when we call on his Son, he puts the light inside of us, and he's activating the heart through the wineskin process. The light that he is going to activate in our hearts started from Eve. So we originally had the light put in us in the mother's womb, but when he puts the heart of flesh inside of us, that light doesn't become activated yet in our hearts. So he turns off the light to let you grow through him with trials and tribulations. And as you start to bend your heart to his will, this is when he starts to activate your light again. Your first activation of that light that was created in the light circle starts when people speak the name Yeshua HaMashiach or Jesus Christ, and that plants the seed inside of you. And that seed begins to grow because God makes it grow. And when the seed is finished fermenting inside of you, that's when you call on the Lord for salvation, because he put that seed in you, and that seed was made from the truest light circle. And that seed was to make sure that all souls were saved in the end. 2/23/2025. You see, you were never taught these mysteries because I wasn't ready for these mysteries to be revealed yet. But now it's all being unsealed and spoken in the very end. Because I am waking up my people. I am unblocking their frequencies. It all started from the very beginning in the original garden, because the true Father that was created in the light circle and opposite had to happen. Well, that opposite created a false father, which is the God of the world, and Yahweh in his name, and he did not is his name, and he did not want Adam and Eve to know the truth, which is why he told them not to eat from the tree of knowledge, because the tree of knowledge let Adam and Eve know that they now were falling in darkness. However, the tree of knowledge and the forbidden fruit did not unblock their frequencies, which is why Jesus is trying to unblock frequencies now by using the wineskin process and the supernatural, so the people can wake up to his true good news and his true salvation. Frequencies are important because God spoke the world into existence. He also thought of things because of the power of the light, can think of things or speak things to create things. But he wanted his people to be perfect, which is why he made us separate. Adam and Eve, a clay came from stardust wrapped around in his own hand, which did not need an opposite because it was not created by a thought or created by an actual voice, but he created them by the hand of God, which is why God calls it his perfect masterpiece. Once he got that perfect masterpiece and perfected it just how he wanted it, there was a resonating light inside of it, and that is the formula and the true DNA of Yahweh that he put inside the mother of the womb process, and that mother is Mary in the flesh. 2/20/2025. Jesus gave a strong message today on Zoom. It showed the blue light behind me, and the entire video my face got covered up by the sun. I know that was Jesus. You could see him making it brighter throughout the video. Very supernatural. He talked about so many mysteries coming in phase 2, why the elders have such a big role and what started from the very beginning. He even mentions 222 meets 522 in the video, because the 515 video says count 15 from 7. What do you get? 22. So we are waiting on the baby to be delivered and symptoms to be becoming on. G is almost finished his lung process symbolism. I am waiting for mine to start now. Apparently I will have to go through a lot as well, but different. Here is the video. Jesus had me do a supernatural thing tonight where I was truly trusting in him and cleansing my entire soul, giving everything to him, pouring out my drama, any hurt, any fear, and literally giving him my own breath. The Holy Spirit came over me, and I was giving out breaths because it's part of the lung transformation. Because when you become one with your soulmate, which we just did for all the people since we were the symbolism of the Adam and Eve partners, which just transferred all of that into his people. So now all the people have to do is truly bend their heart to God's will and to truly ask for cleansing and purification through trials and testing, and ask to remove all trauma and admit things to the Lord so he can pull it out of us, so he can start activating the light inside of us. Because this is the reason why the light of the world comes in the New Testament, because it all started from the original light circle. This is why they talk about the Big Bang Theory, but what they leave out is God. God is science. God came from nothing. Its true light was formed from nothing, and God created the image of the Father for salvation, which is also the Son, which is why Jesus Christ had to come in the flesh.
We learn later, though, that nothing actually means everything.
Exactly. Yep. But he also created the mother, which is one with the father, and to show the family tree. He created the son and the daughter, which is Adam and Eve. He took that perfect formula when he made two separately by his hands, Adam and Eve, as his masterpiece, and he conducted the true soulmate formula, putting everything together, perfect for entering it all into the womb. So every time the mother has a baby, that perfect DNA of Yahweh was transferred in the creation room, in the light circle, putting all of his formulas together to create the perfect soulmate for you. Just like your soulmate is created for you in the same womb, which Song of Songs 4:12 tells you, sister, my spouse. This is why his brother and sister here on earth doesn't mean the same.
We just talked about that in the previous video.
Doesn't mean the same thing in heaven, but that's another mockery for the devil to confuse you. Because being created from the same womb as being connected with your soulmate, genetically connected, intertwined soul and the heart together into one. And this is also why this lung process transformation had to do with. Jesus was showing us all, he was explaining the mockery from his original creation, where he created from the stardust equation, the stardust explosion, where all the planets merged into one, creating a combustion of energy, pushing all the planets back and forth, creating waves of energy, creating multiple circles, which is how the original kingdom even got started. There's so many mysteries that we're going to come back with and prove, but first we have to claim our citizenship in heaven, and we are going to come back and show the supernatural. And not only will we show the first original glorious bodies, because they were created from the light circle, and now we are going to show that before he calls up the people who are ready, who are his other elders and his other elect, and the people walking in his spirit. And if his people are not called up in this round, he is using Hezekiah to complete the rounds, to keep using Revelation 4:1-2 to call John up, because he is now bringing Revelation to life, and we are John in his case, and repeating the pattern, because that is the open door. It's the Philadelphia Faith Church, the people who truly rely on and trust in Jesus Christ for every single sin, and he took the penalty of sin for everyone. And when you know that knowledge, he puts a heart of flesh inside your heart, except for he doesn't activate his heart of flesh yet. This is the whole point of the wineskin process, because you're cleansing your soul and purifying it while going through trials and testing he puts us through. But what you're going to find out is our God is love. He's always been love and never been condemning or wrathful. So Job foreshadows how the devil takes away all of Job's blessings that were from the true Father in heaven, and literally destroys his life, and then God restores Job at the end of the devil's wrath. And all of that is foreshadowing the entire Bible. And in the Old Testament, you're going to see that God of the world was the false father that was created by science, when the true Father was created in the light circle, because an opposite had to be created. And we're going to be proving all of this when we come back in the supernatural. This is why McKenna wasn't supposed to put out this stuff yet until it was ready, but he asked her to do something that she did not want to do, because he was testing her heart to see if she would put him first over her family, over anything, because God asked us to put him first over everything, and that's in scripture. But unfortunately, McKenna missed that lesson, and that made her waver in faith, and now because of that, he is using her to pave the way, putting out all these mysteries before they were ready to put out, because he allows us to do our own will and gives us what we want in our own hearts. This is what he is trying to teach his people, is that you have to truly bend your heart to his will and not follow your own. Otherwise, this is what's going to happen. You will lose rewards. You have to be corrected, because a father corrects the child he loves. And McKenna was running the race so well, and I knew this was going to happen because he prophesied that she was going to look the other way. And now that prophecy has been fulfilled. Just like every single thing that Jesus has been speaking is coming true now from 2023, because we are truly on his hour now, and he is foreshadowing and mirroring 2023 into 2025, because the physical and the spiritual battles are colliding now, because we've already completed the spiritual battle, because the last duplicate received the glorious body in the spirit. So now when he merges our last duplicate in the spirit to the physical, it will be our last duplicate in the physical world, and that is when we are able to obtain our glorious bodies. But we can't obtain that if we haven't bent our hearts to his will. And we will have to continue to go on the rounds until we have done that. Which is why he is using Hezekiah's story for his transformation inside his people's hearts. So he can activate that light. That true resonating light that he put in Eve, the mother of all creation. Because she's the one that held the light. And then when he put that light in her, that light was transformed inside the true DNA formula of his masterpiece, of the Adam and Eve that he created with his 2 hands. Because he is the potter and we're his clay. So that light now goes out into all of his people at birth. And when every time a seed is planted, when you say the name Yeshua HaMashiach or Jesus Christ, that light starts to get activated inside of you. And that is the same thing as the wineskin process. It is after salvation. And this is why you can't put something new into something old. Because you can't mix light with darkness. Because Jesus' heart is perfect and there is no darkness in him, but only light. So he is our perfect son and father. And so when the Father sees us, he sees his son in us. Because we become one with the Father. Once we have completed that heart transformation process, which is activating the light inside of us, Jesus literally spoke all of that right now as I'm writing this update to all of you guys. This is not my writing. I could not know these revelations. I'm literally guided by him as a vessel, because it all started from the original kingdom, the ones that are truly Holy Spirit filled, and the ones that I've been connecting to you. You're going to see that you are also from the original kingdom, and you just do not remember who you are. But God is about to change that in a major way, because he is about to wake his people up with the supernatural, and he said teleportation was coming, and now teleportation is here.
Look, he literally did the entire beginning of this message to formulate it to the end, guys. Come on.
That's exactly what's happening now.
Yeah.
So after Jesus cleansed my trauma from my sister's death, he put G back in the spiritual world one more time as he was healing his lungs. After I let it all go and truly trusted in him, when it looked like G was going to leave me again, this time I was very calm and I felt Jesus' peace. And somehow Jesus had recorded what I said to G as he was in the spiritual realm. Now keep in mind, we aren't doing any of this. This was all Jesus. And he later told me he told G some key information that G needed for his final transformation. G does not remember any of this, but as he starts to change, he will bring back his memory and his visit in the spiritual realm. Here are the words that I used to wake my Adam when he started the spiritual process.
Okay, so this is really cool, guys. As I was after I cleansed the first time, with my sister, we got back from the hospital, as he goes in the spirit again, this time I was very calm, and because I had just cleansed with Jesus and I trusted him, like he's not going to let anything happen to him. So I must have pressed record on my phone somehow, and as G laid back to go in the spirit, I grabbed his chest and I said, "You're okay, my love. You're okay, my love. You're okay, my love. You're not gonna die. You're okay. You're okay. Wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. You're okay." That was a major one. I think you may have just put the lungs inside you that time. Well, I didn't even get scared this time. I literally recorded that as it was happening. G said he heard my voice when he fainted and was out of it in the spiritual realm. But because I was so calm and my voice was soothing to him, it was much easier for him not to be scared, and he knew how to come back. So as I was cleansing myself, pouring my heart out to Jesus, I was asking him to take away all my insecurities and my fears. I was also asking him to remove any trauma I still had left attached to my soul. I finally just let it all go and out on the worship song, "I Surrender All," and all of this happened before G's final trip in the spiritual realm. Well, that was the first beginning process. Now we're going backwards. But I don't think he's going to make him die again. He said he would only die once. So I could feel Jesus' presence with me, and his peace came over me, and I felt his love. And he was showing me in that moment to just let everything go and trust in his voice. And as he was telling me to hold my breath, it was so supernatural because God came in and replaced my breath with his. So I was able to hold on for such a long time without passing out, trusting in him and giving him my last breath so he could replace my breath with his breath. So he could give G a new set of lungs, making us one, by supernaturally taking my lungs and combining it with G's for the connection of the soulmates, bringing togetherness and being one. That's like when he's making the glorious bodies. And the reason he had me do that for G, because it all started from the very beginning of the original light circle. And you're going to see how he had to create an Adam and Eve, a perfect partner, but he did it by his own hands because he had to create a perfect formula put inside the mother's womb. So he had to use us for